Well, welcome back to our next episode of The Awakened Stranger. And this is Cody. And today we're talking with Erica. And in this call, we ended up just started out kind of chatting right away. And so I'm just doing the introduction now, and we'll kind of jump right into the call. Amazing conversation. I started out this morning just having a lot of anxiety and a lot of really low feelings. There's low energy and just kind of in the blah feeling. And good conversation with Erica has shifted that. So I hope you guys experienced the fun and kind of uplifting excitement energy that I got through this call with Erica. And I hope you have a great day. And so with that, we're just kind of jump right in, and it'll go right into us starting to talk.
I think anytime it's scary like that, usually it'll, a month, I tell people this because I went through a very difficult divorce, and I told somebody, I said, I didn't think I'd ever climb out of it. And that was the scariest thing I've ever been through, being on my own because I've been married for so long. And, I said, and then now I look back and it was like, a month from now, and then 6 months from now, it's going to be in a blink. And a year from now, it's going to be in a blink. And it's all going to be a distant memory. You're going to be like, damn, I made it through it. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like and you don't think that you will. So, I have faith. Everything that's meant to be will be.
That's what I keep saying. I keep trying to believe it. It's kind of hard. I give myself advice or give other people thoughts and advice, and then try to keep your own or take your own advice. So,
yeah, it is.
Yep. So, well, yeah. What we've kind of done in the past, depending on what time frame you have, just kind of give you a moment to kind of share your story and kind of some of the stuff you've been going through and have a conversation. So,
okay, so you just want like my backstory of where I was at, where I'm at today, and kind of that.
Yeah, because what I'm kind of finding is a lot of times, just me making my comment, my post. There's been a lot of people reaching out, just showing that they're going through something in life, and there's just been a lot of people telling everybody that they're feeling alone, that things aren't as good as online perception is, and just people are going through life.
About that. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I mean, you just tell me when you want me to get go, and I'll go.
Yeah, no, you're okay. Anytime's good. So I'd love to hear kind of what's going on for you.
Okay, well, I'm 40 years old in small town Tennessee, little tiny one red light town. I'm as southern as I sound. I said I sound like I milk cows and churn butter for a living, but I've raised in the same town, or grew up in this town, raising my kids in this town. Had a great childhood. Mom and dad, I'm still a daddy's girl. My dad's, I laugh, he's still raising me at 40 years old. I got an awesome father, an awesome mother. Grew up as an only child for 20 years before my brother was born. So, relatively, very good life. I married because that's what you do in small town America. I married right out of high school. We were married for about 6 years. Had my son 3 years into our marriage. And then we divorced because we were just two different people, and he's been wonderful. He's, been a wonderful father to my son, and I couldn't ask for a better person and his girlfriend to co-parent. Well, not anymore. My son's 20 now, but, co-parent and help raise my son. Got married 3 years after that divorce to my daughter's father. We were married for 15 years. That was the nasty divorce I was telling you about. So, I was kind of blindsided with that. This is where it kind of gets a little different with my story. So, my ex-husband, he had unfortunately got on drugs, and I didn't know anything about that kind of stuff. I mean, my daddy works for the sheriff's department. You know what I'm saying? I got married young. We were church goers. I never did anything. So I didn't know what to look for. I just knew money was coming up missing. Things were, going downhill. And then it turned into he was having an affair with my best friend. So that is what kind of spiraled me into a deep depression that I have never in my life, and I never thought I was going to climb out of it. It rocked my world because I had married since I was in high school, basically. We were 3 years, but I was raising a kid in between that. So, and he was one, and my ex-husband was wonderful to co-parent, and then this happens with this one. And so, they say rotting in a bed. I was working from home at the time and going to school, but doing it at home. And I was rotting away in a bed. So that, my daughter saved my life, without a doubt. It was rough. So that lasted, well, okay, so then I got on social media, okay? Do you have any questions for me or keep
Nope,
going?
you're doing great. Yep, I
Okay.
love it.
So I got on social media and I got on an app. It's not TikTok or anything, it's another one. But it's an app where you meet other people. But at the time, this was back in 2020. So it was a newish app, and they were doing hosts and stuff. So when I tell people this, they're like, "What were you doing?" Well, my country accent. It was people from Australia, England, UK, all these places. And for some reason, when I started being a host, I made pretty good money. I mean, I made about $3,000 a month. And it was just, them gifting you, like on TikTok, you gift and stuff like that. But the conversion rate was really good back then. I mean, this is early on. And for some reason, this accent will draw people from other countries. And so I did very well on it. And then, but I didn't know any better because I'm from small town America. And I had no idea. And I was a fool to not realize how the internet was. And anybody can be anyone they want to be on the internet. And I was very too trusting. I made the mistake of saying my real name. I made the mistake of saying where I was from. And I made the mistake of being, I was lonely. I was in a bed. I had made this app. I mean, social media had become my escape from reality. How about that? Mm-hmm. It was an escape from reality. And to the point that it was a priority. I mean, I was always on it. And it was, but then I trusted people. I was blackmailed. I remember, in 2021, Cybercrimes Division in New York contacted me because I put in over someone that was trying to get money out of me. He would see how much I was making in my lives, and then he was off of this app called Discord. It was I'd never been on that app, but he was from that app, and he could hack and got me trusting, got me think he was somebody he wasn't. I was lonely, and he got pictures from me. It was a whole ordeal. It blackmailed me for money. He tried to send them to my mom. It was awful. Okay, it was awful. So I went through all of that, and it was, so went through all that, got off the app, and it was like an addiction. It was something, it was rough. But I got off of that particular app, and then I got on TikTok, and I learned not to, be as trusting, I guess. And I got my degree, and it was so that, along with my divorce, was all in the same 3-4 month time frame. It was the hardest thing I've ever been through. I mean, the depression I was in. When I tell you, my mom struggles with mental health. I always say I've got ADHD, so I'm always hyperact, or full of energy. But that sent me into something that I never thought I would climb out of. Like, it was horrible. And, everybody's like, you'll get through it. And I was just like, no, like the days seemed to last like forever. And, I could not climb out of it. And, or I didn't think I was. And I met somebody that was from my town, but he's so much older than me. I didn't know it, didn't know him that well. And he helped get me out of it. And, we started off really good friends. We went to a drive-in. We still have those here. And went to a drive-in. That was our first date. And we went to look for an air filter at Walmart. And, now we're engaged. I'm now working for the federal government. I have a great job. My daughter just turned 16, and I remember not having enough money to know if I was going to be able to send for her lunch 4 years ago to now I just bought her a new car for her birthday. You know what I'm saying? Nice. So, I mean, looking back at where I was to where I am now, it's just like, wow. And, I realized that I had lost faith, and I had kind of, my parents were very religious, always have been. However, I kind of, like I said, I started making that app. It's like the second I made that app my priority, not a priority, but like a major thing in my life, where I went from going to church to now I'm hopping on lives on Sunday morning, and it's like the second that I, took a step back and put God back into my life, like everything started changing for me. And it was where I took God out and I replaced him with an app, which I know that, TikTok's kind of where I've come across you and stuff. And I think that, these apps are wonderful for things like your story. I think your story is very awesome. I think a lot of people, I don't, I wish I had the courage to take a leap like that and do that, and even leave my small town. And I think in a long, if we would use that in this type of way, it would be for the better. But these apps are, unfortunately, I've seen the dark side of them. So I guess that's my story, a part of it. I mean, it goes on longer, but I didn't want to carry on too long if you had questions for me, but that's kind of where I'm at now, and but yeah, so I'm still on apps, just not like that.
Yeah, no, and I'm kind of learning that myself too. I definitely am a trusting person. I tend to say yes way faster than my mouth. My mouth talks way faster than my brain thinks sometimes when it comes to
Same.
wanting to be there for people and help them. And so I definitely understand
Yep.
that side of it, being getting the opportunity to get and taken advantage of. So yeah, it's been a lot
it's
of just kind of
scary, and
balance.
I didn't know. I was 30 some years old. I thought, I know the real world. No. I know small town Tennessee. I know. Yeah, with work in I was a regional manager, and I would travel from to Michigan to California, but I mean, those are short stays. And so the reality was I was very sheltered in my in knowing a lot of this stuff. And I mean, I teach my daughter now, I'm like, don't tell anybody who you are, like, because I didn't know that they could just get my name and, just saying my birthday. I mean, America, like, I didn't realize how easy it is in America to get people's information, and it is so easy. It's scary how easy it is. Now, other countries, it's not like that, but America, it's insanely easy to find out who somebody is. And I mean, you can absolutely, you can ruin somebody, by just having their first, last name and their town they live in, and it's scary. That's how my mom was found. Even though I put my Facebook on private, she happened to like a photo on Facebook, and they found me. She liked a photo back years ago. They pulled it up when they pulled up her Facebook. Of course, it's not private. So they're seeing pictures of me, and they're like, "Oh, she's related to her," and then that's how the blackmail started. You see what I'm saying? It was just something as simple as, even though I thought my Facebook was private, it wasn't. There was one photo that I didn't know that you could see who liked it, and they were able to find my mother through that. And so yeah.
And you said that's how they were trying to blackmail you, is to.
So they would see. So on this app, it's called Bigo Live. I don't care. I'll tell you, it's Bigo Live. Years ago, so it's kind of like TikTok Live. People gift you, and at the time it was much smaller of an app. I guess they used to you had to make it to be a host instead of just saying you want to be a host, and the conversion rate was a lot better as far as turning what they call beans, your gifts, into money. And so I was making, like I said, I would cash out about $3,000 a month, and I was just simply talking to people on, like, in a group. We were either like in a multi is what we called it, or I was in a single live and just talking. And a lot of my people that would gift me were international people that, like my accent, honestly, a lot of them would say this or say that, or, and so there was this guy that would come in, and he was from New York, and he was, friendly, and we would talk but he never showed his face. And I just thought, well, he just don't want to be seen, whatever. I didn't know. I had no idea. And he was sitting there for about 2 months gathering information, little things I would say about myself or reveal about myself. And then he was able to, I finally said one day, well, I didn't go by Erica on there. I think I went by, it was Tenny, T-E-N-N-Y, because Tennessee, and somebody said Tenny or Tennessee Tenny or something. And so that's what I put my username to. But then someone said, well, what's your real name? I was like, Erica. I never said my last name, but Erica. Oh, and then, I'd do a live, and I'd be driving or something, and they see my town sign one day just driving. He was able to screenshot it. So he was able, there's not many people with the name Erica in my small town. And so he found me on Facebook, but of course my Facebook was on private, I thought. And then he started scrolling profile pictures until he found one that he could click on. And, I didn't remove the likes or make it private enough, and he was able to find my mother. Because why would our family members put they're not going to put their stuff on private because they don't know we're on social media,
Mm-hmm.
And so that went into him saying, well, if you don't give me X amount of dollars, Cash App it or whatever, gift card. His main thing was gift cards. Then, I'm gonna hack your phone. And at first I was like, I don't believe you. And I called his bluff on it. And that was where I was stupid. And I did have stuff on my phone. And I don't know how he did it. I don't know how he completely hacked me, but he was able to hack me completely and to get photos. And, I was talking to somebody from the UK. Like, I thought, like, I was lonely and divorced, very lonely, married 15 years, and then you have nobody. You're lonely. You talk to people, and it's not nothing I'm proud of, but I did. He had somebody doing that. That's the crazy part. And so where he could get a photo of me. Now, it wasn't a bad photo. Like, it wasn't like I was nude or nothing, but I was like in a bathing suit. And, he was able to, I don't know how he did it, Photoshop that, send it to me. And then when I didn't send it, he sent everything. When I told him I was going to call the police on him, I was like, I'll figure out who you are. I'm going to call, the cyber crimes. He sent it all to my mother. We were able to find out who he was because he did that to somebody else. So I know his full name now and everything, but it was an ordeal. I mean, like I said, the cyber crimes division in New York was calling me or emailing me about it, and it got really nasty. So I learned the hard way, not that the internet is not what you think it is. Wow. People are not who you think they are. They're not everybody has a heart like I do, and I'll do anything for anyone. I'll give, if somebody needs something, I'll do without, so they've got something. And that's a good thing, but it's also, can be a bad thing. So
yeah, you gotta learn kind of how to discern the good from the bad people, I guess, huh?
It is. It's hard. I mean, anybody can be anyone on the internet. That is for sure.
Mm-hmm. For sure. And you said things are going pretty well for you now. You kind of.
Oh yeah, everything's good. It's so much, like I said, so much better when I put God back into my life and got rid of social media. I don't know if you're a religious man. I've struggled with denominations my whole life. Kind of, which one do I like? Which one is right? Which one's wrong? Studying different types of denominations and but I am very religious, and when I put God back in my life started turning around. I do believe that social media, they say that, what is it, oh my gosh, there's what Blake, sorry, the mark of the beast and all this, I 100% believe it's social media. I don't believe it's a person in form, because, like I said, social media can be a beautiful thing. They say, the Antichrist is is going to be absolutely beautiful and everything you want to see and all this, and it's hard for me not to believe, after going through what I went through, to believe that it's not, that isn't what it, social media and all this isn't, tied into that. But when I let go of all of that and put God back in my life, things started coming around. I've met, wonderful man, funny enough, that has lived about 7 miles from me my whole life. He's 8 years older than me, so he was a little older than me in school. I didn't know him. I knew who he was, but didn't know him. He's got 3 kids. I've got 2. My son is going to school to be a physical therapist. He's going to do his doctorate. He starts that in this fall. My daughter is going to be into her sophomore year of high school. And then, Philip and I have moved in together, and he proposed on Halloween. And, life is good. Like I said, I got a job and now working for the federal government, which I never thought I would do, so that is going from, like I said, poverty. I mean, I was in income-based housing to, I just bought my daughter a new car. I have a new car, well, not new to her, I guess, a brand new car for me. And I remember 4 years ago, I didn't know, I wouldn't have made it without the government's help, as far as I was one of those single low income mothers. So, I had to climb out, and Phillips helped me, and life is good right now. And I definitely will never take it for granted again. I've been high up to hitting, I'm very humbled. I will say life has humbled me a lot. So, and I've been at the top, and I've been at the bottom, not knowing what I was going to do. And, I think it's made me a better person. Now looking back, it was horrible, and it was a lot, and I didn't know there were days I'd be able to do it. But now I think I know it has made me 100 times better person than I was.
Yeah, when you mentioned you kind of brought God back into your life, what were the switches? Kind of what changed for you, or what did you start doing?
I just started. Well, I guess so I know I keep saying the app and social media and stuff. I guess because I was so lonely. So I went from going to church, but my daughter's dad, he never went with me to church. Now he grew up Pentecostal, which is not the way I grew up, and it's very strict, and they're, and I guess, and he said that's why he never, because he was forced to go to church growing up, and he just never wanted to go. And I was like, well, then this horrible divorce happens with us, but we never had God like leading our relationship, or, yes, I went to church with my parents. My dad goes. I go with my dad every Sunday, or was, but, we would, on the weekends, my ex-husband, he liked to party and stuff, and, I didn't know any better, and I wasn't used to all that, and he was fun, but, and then the divorce happened, and my reality, I wanted to get away from it so bad, I started, missing church to be, like, I'd hop on these lives and be on social media all day, 24/7, I always think I'm a good, loving mother, but my daughter, even during that time, that social media became it. I was like on this app, on that particular app at the time, like, and this isn't a good thing by no means, and I'm not bragging, but when that app was going on, before it allowed everybody to be, there wasn't many of us that were hosts. And so, I was very well known. I had a lot of followers on this app. And you could say my screen name and people knew who I was. And, I was the multi that people wanted to hop in. And the box, I don't know how TikTok, I've never done a multi on TikTok, but on Bigo, you would have a wait list of people trying to get up in your like multi-family, like, to talk or whatever. And I remember like people would come in just like wanting to be in there because we would like, roast. We'd have roast sessions and we would do all this fun stuff. And it was like just an escape from reality. And there were not nice people in those lives. And I remember people like talking to other people horrible. And I would never talk to people the way in person or even allow to be around it in real life. And, it was horrible. And, looking back, it was just escape from my reality. But I let that consume everything. If I was going to Walmart, I was on live. If I was doing this, I was live. It just took away. And so when I finally said, after all that happened, and, I was like, I can't go back on here. Like this, I was scared to death. I started going back to church. I started praying. Just praying where I used to pray and go when I go to bed. Now I was praying, like talking to God again. And, I filled the place where I'd had God before. I let social media fill that spot. And it was an escape from reality that took over. It just took over, and it took over everything. And my life went down as soon as it did. And then it's like it started, when I put it down, it was hard not to get on there and see what was going on. Because, it becomes an addiction. But I started going to church again. I started, my daughter's, both my children are very religious. And, my son, he got baptized, and my daughter as well. And, I just met Philip, and now Philip is Church of Christ. I'm not Church of Christ. But, we have put God in our relationship, and he struggled with, he was married for 18 years and divorced. And I don't know, it's just even as simple. I'm not going to say that I just went full on, Bible and this, that, no, but just, I had allowed the app to take over every aspect to where when I started feeling, I guess, church and, worship and, in those spots where the social media was, God really started changing my life again. And, I guess unless you've been through it, you don't know. But I fully believe that, it took me hitting rock bottom to have a wake up and, put God first in my life. And I will never do that again. Like, I will never replace or put, something like that over God and my family. And because I let it control and take over, if that makes sense. And I guess if you haven't been through it, it probably don't make sense. But I think to a lot of people, it will resonate because social media is addictive and a lot of people are on it more than they realize,
Yeah, no, and that's kind of one thing that I've been, I guess, honestly struggling with myself. I kind of made a post online. A lot of people responded to it, and things changed in my life really quick. And it got to the point of like a really quick addiction and very big like ego boost, and then trying to balance that back myself and kind of giving myself that almost a time limit, if you will, of how much time I want to share with talking to people and being out there and kind of being out in the real world, or being, I guess, vulnerable, if you will, letting people kind of see my real life. And so, yeah, there's definitely been a balance in that for me, trying to figure out what works. So, sorry, I keep asking the questions for you because, yeah, it seems like you've gone through what I'm in the middle of. So, I'd like to just kind of
Oh
get the
yeah.
insight. So, but
Yeah, no, I've been through it for sure. And like I said, I just didn't know, and if I can help somebody else, I definitely want to, because it can be scary. I mean, I've seen the bits of it.
yeah. So, can I ask you a question? And if it's I guess too
No,
much,
you can ask
then
me anything.
you
I'm an
shut me
open
down.
book, I promise.
Right. So I grew up in the LDS religion, so the Mormons or Latter Day
Yeah.
Saints of Jesus Christ, right? And
Hmm.
the idea of God in that religion is that an all powerful being up in heaven, that His Son Jesus Christ is there to kind of atone for your sins and bring you back to God. I've had this really crazy spiritual awakening where I've kind of had a different understanding of what is going on in the universe or what we are as a soul and kind of the evolution of the soul. So in your perspective with who God is, from I guess a way to describe it is, how is God to you now? Is it a person that you pray to? Is it a thing? Is it like, I kind of reference God as like source, creator, kind of the universe. God
Right.
is everything to me, not just a person in heaven.
Right.
But how do you see
So
God?
that's how I feel. I feel like, so, like I said, I've struggled with what I call denominations, like I studied, Catholic, and I grew up Methodist. My fiance's Church of Christ. I even studied with Jehovah's Witnesses just to learn about it. You know what I'm saying? I've worked, LDS. We don't see that really around here in Tennessee, but because of all the reality shows, I've looked into it as well, because, there's all these different denominations. One believe this, one believe it. And I'm like, I know there's something greater out there. I know that there's something beyond here. I know that there's a God, and I believe God is everything. Yes, God is mother, God is father, God is everything. God is all, it's, I do struggle with certain, like, because there are certain things of certain religions that make sense. And then, and I'm like, okay, wait, that makes sense. But then there's something that doesn't make sense. And I'm like, I don't know as far as which denomination religion is the right one. I know that, I believe in God. I believe that there is, like I said, he's everything. He is mother, father, everything. He is maker of all, right?
Mm-hmm.
I I know I'm going to sound crazy. So when I add this on, you're going to be like, oh my gosh, we need a whole nother show for you. Okay. So this is going to sound crazy. I promise I'm not crazy. When I made the comment earlier that I've got ADD or ADHD, I've had it since I was little, which means, I don't know if you have that, but, or if you know anybody with it, it's like a computer, right? So I can be talking to you now and, look at a tree here as I'm driving and see the color green, be like, oh man, I forgot to, put up my green coffee cup. And then that green coffee cup, oh crap, well, I forgot to put something in the crock pot. That's how my mind goes. It's like a computer with 100 different tabs, right?
Yep.
Constantly going. My brain is just constantly on go. That's just the way we are with ADHD and stuff. And so growing up, I've always, been like this. I don't know a different way. I was never medicated for it. I don't my doctor, she asked me one day, she was like, because she's a friend of mine, we actually graduated together, and she was like, do you want some Vyvanse or something, like, to be medicated? And I was like, no, because that's me. I mean, this is who I am. Like, I wouldn't know if I was medicated. I wouldn't be me. I wouldn't be the hyper jump from one thing to another that, like, it scares me. I don't want to be medicated. I've learned to manage not medicated. So anyway, so I say all that to say, when I met my fiance, his parents were married for 40 years. He was 30 years old, and his dad died very horrific way. It's very traumatic for him, okay? So this was back in 2008 when his dad died. I don't know, even though we're from the small town, I didn't know his dad. They lived way out in the country. I knew who they were because we're in a small town, but I didn't know them. Anyway, I didn't even know that his dad had passed away this way until we started seeing each other, and he told me. Well, the more we were seeing each other, he talks about his dad a lot. He was very close with his dad, and it's very, very, I mean, he has some PTSD over the way it happened. I mean, it was a horrific way he died. So anyway, he struggles with this a lot, to the point that he started drinking a lot after all this happened. That's one of the reasons why he's divorced now. And, there's a lot to unpack there, but he would talk about his dad, and when he would say certain things, like, it was weird because, like I said, my brain is constantly going, but certain numbers would pop up in my head and certain things would pop up in my head. And I've never believed in, how do I say this? Because I know I sound crazy, because I know I sound crazy saying it, because I would look at somebody hearing this and be like, you're insane. I've never believed in people that could talk to people that passed away or say that they feel things or whatever. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I talk to anybody that's passed away. That's not it. But I will say that I started knowing things that I should not know every time he would talk to his dad, to the point that I finally had to say, hold on. And I started putting two and two together. After you've been together for a year, and every time you talk about your dad, this certain 4-digit number is coming up in my head. Well, I said it to him, and that was when we had old school telephones, on the wall. Mm-hmm. He hadn't had a landline in 26 years. But I could tell him those last 4 numbers were his landline number when growing up. It was his grandparent. Like, I picked up a cane that it was his granddad's that his dad had, and he had it. We were cleaning up the house. We moved, and I was like, who's Charlie? And he was like, put it down. That was his granddad's cane. There's things that I don't know how to explain it, like Neon Moon. His dad used to sit in the garage at night and sing Neon Moon on a karaoke machine when he would drink. His dad did. There's no way I would know that. He never told me that. But I knew that Neon Moon kept coming to my mind every time he would talk about his dad. I would get feelings, not like feelings of guilt or I wish I could have kind of feelings. I don't know how to explain it. It sounds crazy, but we started putting two and two together. But I've always, like I said, I've got this ADHD. I've always thought it was normal for things to pop in my mind. But now I'm thinking, okay, wait a minute. I fully believe, I don't know, I'm not going to say that I've never believed in ghosts or anything like that. I don't believe in ghosts. I don't see anything, but I do feel certain things when people talk about certain people that have passed away, and I will have images that just pop up in my head that make sense to them but don't make sense to me. And I know I sound crazy probably to you, especially if you don't believe this, because I never believed anything.
Everything you're saying. So first of all, your brain operates just like mine. So I'm absolutely loving the fact that our conversation is moving forward without like any delay, because that's how my brain works. And so you're 100%, like I'm so on page with you right now. It's perfect.
Okay.
And everything you're saying about just kind of sensing things, I'm experiencing it myself. So yeah, there's something for me, like I feel like telepathy for me is kind of coming online, because I understand things when the people are explaining it almost from an emotional standpoint, where I hear the whole story from your sentence. And so, yeah, when you talk about having an awareness of somebody's thoughts or somebody's words or numbers, like, and I'm feeling like I can understand the whole story based on just a couple sentences, and then I get the whole picture. Yeah. So yeah, I 100%, you're
and
not,
I truly,
or I'm just as crazy.
Like,
so.
Well, I never looked into like ADHD and all this other things. Like, I just knew I had it. I just knew that I wasn't a hyper kid, but I just cannot, like, I'll hyper fixate on something and I fully will become a professional, whatever it is. You know what I'm saying? Like, it may take me forever to put up my clothes that are like sitting on the back of the couch folded, but I'll go and completely paint my kitchen in an afternoon. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's me. That's Erica. I'm just that way. But the feelings and stuff, like, now it kind of makes sense on a lot of things. So, and it goes farther than just his dad. His dad was just the very beginning of it. So we have a whole, there was 2 boys that had a wreck back in 94, maybe. Mm-hmm. I grew up knowing about him. I think I was like in 1st grade. I don't know. I was like in 4th grade maybe when it happened. And, but we all knew about the guy. We all knew about the boy. Like, it's a known. It's our little small town has known. Like, there is a sign in town for these boys that died. One was really good at basketball. Come to find out, my fiance, it was his best friend. And of course, I kind of knew that because in these small towns, but they were so much older than me. But he talked about Michael passing away and all this. And we were driving down the road and he was talking about Michael. And all of a sudden, in my head, that song, What Would Have Been, I want to say maybe Sawyer Brown sings. I don't know. It's an old 90s song, right? Mm-hmm. What would have been, or something like that. And I said, what would have been? And he looked at me and he was like, shut the up. That's what he said. Because he was like, stop. And I was like, what? And he was like, he said, okay. Because Philip was struggling with believing too because of everything that happened to his dad. I mean, it's really put him in like, is God real? Like, why do we go through this kind of hell, kind of thing. And, here I am throwing out a song that his best friend loved and made him put, this is when they didn't, like, he had just a regular cassette tape, in his car, that he put on constantly. I was too young to even know these guys, and I'm sitting here spitting off the song, and I was like, and then I said 22, and that was Michael's basketball number. Well, that's something, I could easily look that up in a yearbook and probably find it. But that let me know that was Michael. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, I don't see anything crazy. I don't talk to. I've never seen a ghost. I've never seen nothing like that. Now, I can tell you that when I was younger, I would have certain houses or certain places. I don't know how to explain, but have you ever felt like in the pit of your stomach a dark, deep, dreaded? It's no feeling like you've ever felt, like a darkness. Like when you see something or feel something, then you're just like, this is not good. Like, this is not good.
Oh yeah, I've experienced that.
Yeah, it's very few times I have, but I have experienced that growing up. But as far as like seeing anything haunted or no, never. I do believe that when we pass away, I now, so that goes back to when you were asking me, about God and stuff. I believe that whether it's an energy, as far as seeing somebody walking, talking, no, or, whatever, or moving stuff in the house, no. But I do feel like that. All I can say is in the 3 years that Philip and I have been together, I have not looked into what I'm feeling. I have not studied it. I have not researched it. Because of my religion, I have always thought that stuff like that is the devil. You don't look into something. If God wanted us all to do this or to be able to talk to the dead or whatever, he would let us all do it. This can't be a good thing. So I haven't really looked into it too much, but I can tell you that there is something that, the stuff that I know is not a dark feeling like I felt around certain things. It's not a bad energy. It's just his dad had a lot of struggles. Part of the reason, and without going into too much, but his dad is not here because it was a domestic with his mother. They were married for 40 something years. Okay. So married 40 years. And then he's unalive because of, but I mean, behind closed doors, he was abusive, and nobody knew that for years. So there's a lot there, and when I get this feeling with his dad, it's more of a, because his dad struggled. I feel like, so Philip has, since his dad's passed away and stuff, Philip has, alcoholism. He's trying to overcome. He's, on medication for depression. I mean, he's wanted to unalive himself a couple times. This is all before he met me. And, he tried to talk to his dad, but his dad was a very Southern, old school, like, men are to be tough. You know what I'm saying? He was one of those tough dads. Like, I'm going to teach you how to, dig a post. We're not going to talk about our feelings. We're not going to hug it out. That's the way he grew up. When he just talks about his dad now, and I get the sense or the feeling, or I'm getting these images in my head, it's more of a feeling of, shoulda, coulda, woulda. If I would have known then what I know now. Like, I feel like when we pass on, we see things that we didn't see the way the way things are, basically.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of it's not a feeling of madness or anger or even sadness. It's just like if I could redo things, I see now that, I should have talked to you about the feelings that you had. And his dad was a tough man. Like, he was taught to, men are weak if they talk about their feelings. And I didn't know his dad. But everything I tell him when I'm saying how I'm feeling, he's like, that's my dad. And Pilo is what his dad called him. I didn't know that. I mean, and when I say that, and I would, I'll get Pilo, I'm sorry, or something like that. And I'll tell him that. And he's like, that's my dad talking to me. I don't sense that I just get feelings. You know what I'm saying? Like a feeling. I don't know. It's crazy. And I know it sounds crazy if you don't understand, but I thought it was crazy. And like I said, I haven't dug into it, but I do believe if you have ADHD or if you've ever been diagnosed for that and you have anything like I am, I believe it's a superpower in a way. It can be a superpower. And I believe that we are a little more, what's the word? Clairvoyant. What's that word? You know what I'm saying?
Yep. Yeah. Clairvoyant.
Yeah. Yeah, clairvoyant. I feel like we are. I feel like that maybe our brains are wired different. My fiance will tell you all day long, I have a lot of GABA. He has a lot of, what's the other? It's GABA, and I can't remember the other, but, where I'm high levels of GABA. So people with ADHD, he deals with a lot of depression and stuff like that. He said, people like me, he said, because they say ADHD has all this GABA. Now, I have looked into this. We have all this GABA and all this that our brains are, that we kind of give like a contact high to these people that have low levels, you know what I'm saying, that don't have the overactive brain and the hyperness and, all this, that we kind of give them a contact high. That's why we tend to attract, sometimes toxic people, because ADHD people are overly, we will give them I don't know how to explain it. You just have to look into it. I've done so much research on it. And, I think that it makes me wonder if it's ADHD we have, or if we are something else, because we sense things and we're, I know I have a lot of empathy for people, or I try to be empathetic. How about that? I try to put myself in everybody's shoes, and I always have. And I think that, I don't know if it's a superpower. I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but with all that being said, I do believe that there is something greater out there. And that's all, I don't know. I've struggled with where I belong as far as denomination and all that. And so, I've just about decided, God has changed my life when I put him back into it, and the way I feel like I should put him back, and doing what I can. And, at the end of the day, I'm hoping to raise because that's all we can do, but hoping to raise two good, kind, loving adults, that are kind to others, and, and try to, do good for this world, and, and just believe every day and put God somewhere in my life as much as I can. And, I think that, I hope that's enough to put me wherever, if that's heaven, purgatory, whatever, I don't know. There's a lot of things I don't understand. So, I just hope that I'm doing right by God, and all that. But I do believe there's something else out there, because I do sense these things, So, yeah.
No, I love it. And you kind of explain in your, the research that you've gone through with understanding ADHD. And I listen to that, and I hear it from the perspective of what I'm learning now, under energy and frequency and people's auras. And I hear that as you just being such a high vibration being that has such a high positive energy that you attract people to you. And I would dare to say you probably have animals and babies and bees and things like that come attracted to you as well, huh?
So. Yeah, I mean, it is. And, like I said, it's, Philip will tell you it's the, high levels of whatever, GABA, I don't know. He said that's what, I don't get all that now. But I've looked into it, and, yes, looking back, I haven't had, I'm not going to say I was very popular, because like I said, I'm very humble. So when I say this stuff, I feel like I'm being, like an ego, and I definitely do not have an ego, whatsoever. But, I don't struggle. My mom told me that. She was like, Erica, you get any job you want. Like, she's like, there's not a job that you don't interview for that you get. And, the job I've taken now, that I just left my other job to take this one, because it is it's a federal job. The person that was in this position was a male role for 30 some odd years. And it's not typical female administrative role, but, I got it. And, I was like, I don't know how I got it. My mom was like, well, this is the energy you give off, She was like, that's what it is. And so, I mean, I'm not the only one that says that. And I've always chalked it up to, that's just my ADD. That's just my personality, because that's who I am. My doctor wanted to medicate it, and I'm like, no, I don't know who I would be, if you killed the ADHD part of me. I don't know who I am. That's me. I'm jumped from one thing to another to, I definitely feel for others deeply, probably more than I should at times. And that is, I'm very loyal. And that's the thing. I'm loyal to a fault in a way, Yeah. And I think that's all part of the ADHD. And if you say you've got that, you understand that, then yeah, I mean, it's scary.
It is. I find myself too, like, I'm going to make a quick comment about the aura stuff. My middle daughter, she's 19, and she holds the same kind of energy as you. She's just super outgoing, super happy, like nothing in life can get her down. But she's always been the ones that attract the people that feed off that energy, and that she
Yep.
sometimes gets, takes a time to kind of recharge that social battery. And there's times where you get into those moments where just people drain you, and it's taken away from that energy, and because you're just freely giving of yourself so much. So
It is, and I can 100% relate to that. And I mean, that's what we tend to when we give off. I mean, even Philip will tell you, he's got deep depression, and he, him and I are the complete. Probably, I say we're opposite, but then we're like best friends. But like a lot of ways but he's like, you are like a contact high. He said, and that's why people like me, he said, who aren't aware, he said, because there are a lot of men aren't not aware of a lot of men don't like to talk about their emotional, but everybody struggles, and men do too, even the ones that don't want to admit it. We all struggle. And he's like, the ones of us that, go through this that don't, admit it or whatever, he said, and then, he said, that are toxic in a way. He said, narcissistic, whatever. He said, they will feed off of you. He said, because of your, energy and stuff. And I definitely I can understand that. Like, I think every person that I've been with, not that I've been married to the majority, but the few that I have dated, it has been situations like that where they fed off of, and I'm not saying they were bad people. I mean, it's just, they didn't understand, and a lot of people don't understand, their depression or their emotional well-being, and don't take care of their emotional well-being. And, so, yeah, I mean, your daughter, if she's 19, tell her hang tight. She just has to learn how to balance and to, I guess look for I still mess up. I still trust people when I shouldn't, but, I definitely like who I am. I embrace the ADHD of me. I embrace it. It's part of me, and, I don't mind it now so much, so.
Well, I look at it as a power, and you said it right, a superpower, because like in my mind, when I'm hearing something, and it's like my brain will hear a topic, I'll solve the problem, I'll create the solution, and then I'll get bored with what's happening in the conversation, and I'll start solving other problems or start thinking about other things going on in my life.
Yep.
And so,
Yep.
yeah, so we have
so
similar.
my bonus baby. So Philip has 3 children. He's got a son that graduated with my son. He's got a daughter that just graduated, and then he has a 9-year-old. So his 9-year-old is that boy came into my life when my son was starting his senior year of school. And, they say there's nothing, like a mother and her son. Well, there's nothing like a mother and her firstborn son, and so I was struggling with Braden going into his senior year of high school back years ago. And this baby came into my life, and he's a sweet, loving little boy. And, me and his son have a bond, and his ex-wife she's been wonderful with, allowing me in his life. And so me and this little boy have a crazy bond. But the older he's gotten in these 3 years, the more I've realized he's a lot like me, and I'm sitting here, and his mom's like, I can't get him to do his schoolwork. And, she's talking to, his dad on the phone, and I'm hearing it, and I'm sitting there, and I'm like, well, he's got ADHD, and they're wanting to medicate him. And I'm like, no, don't, because nowadays they want to medicate everybody for everything, and I guess I grew up just having to learn how to cope. And, I told him, I remember my dad when I was younger, he would say, Erica, you can sit there and listen to, because this was, I was in the NSYNC and Backstreet Boys era, and he's like, you can listen to one of them boy band songs one time and sing it and dance every move, but you're going to sit here and take 3 hours to do your homework, your math homework. I remember him saying that to me. And so his mom's sitting there talking about his son and kind of saying the same thing. And I'm like, he'll get it on his own. This boy is, but his dad showed him, we were watching YouTube or something, his dad showed him Michael Jackson. And this boy, he's 9, he's obsessed with Michael Jackson. He can, if you look at my TikTok, he can do any Michael Jackson song, he can dance. This boy has it down to a T. He's 9 years old. And, his dad laughed, said, I should have showed him who Michael Jordan was instead of Michael Jackson. But, he's because he hyper fixates like I do, So this boy, it's like he's so brilliant. His son is so brilliant, but it's what he's interested in. If he's not interested in it, he don't, it don't matter what you do. You can ground him. You can do whatever. He's not going to do. He's not going to get interested in it. And that's what I'm trying to explain to Philip and his ex-wife, that just let him. I did the same thing. When I hyperfixate on something, I will do amazing at it. But I've also had to train myself and know like, you've got to do this, and so there are things that I'll watch something sometime, and then I think I'm a chef, and I'll go and buy everything, and then I'll like halfway through be like, why did I do all this? But his son's the same way, so it's a coping, learning how to handle it and all this, and I definitely, I think that, I wish I could help more people like that do struggle and don't understand. And because there are ways to, I remember my house was a disaster for years. I did not keep, we weren't filthy or dirty, but my house was a mess. It was like a chaos. And, it took forever for me to be mature. I want to say mature enough, but for my brain to say, hey, you've got to do this, because there was, for years, I just felt defeated. I could not keep my house in order, but I could go and paint the outside of it in 2 days. It's just hard to get, and people are like, what? And I'm like, it's hard to explain if you don't understand, but I wish I could help people with ADHD, because there are struggles of it too.
No, and I go through that a lot too, and I share with my wife. I rotate through hobbies quite often, but I tend to go all in when I want to do something. I've bought everything, I have everything, I've read everything, I've watched videos about all of it, and then a few months later, all of a sudden I'm like, new shiny toy, and I'm bored, and like, but I do find myself at least cycling back through some of the same hobbies every once in a while, every few years. So it's now I just have a big collection of a lot of tools and a lot of woodworking stuff and a lot of watches, and I trained dogs for a long time, and I literally have done every different type of thing, and so I think it just makes you a better, well-rounded person. You've got knowledge and information to talk about at every topic, and I see it as a superpower. So
well,
cool.
Thank you. And and like I said, I don't reach out to many people on TikTok. I hardly anybody. I watch a lot of people and stuff, and I'm definitely, am inspired by people. But your story, it touched me when I saw it that day, and I was like, I'm gonna reach out to him, because there was something in you that I saw in that video that, it pulled at my heartstrings, and I think that you're doing a great thing. I really do, and I think that you're gonna reach way more people than you probably even realize right now, because, you reached me all the way, like I said, small town Tennessee. So you're going to reach more people and touch more hearts than you probably, realize. And I know you said earlier you're kind of struggling with some, on if you're doing the right thing and all this. And I can tell you that you're doing the right thing. And you may not see it right now, but you're going to look back and you're going to be like, even if you change two people's or one person is enough, that it was worth it. You know what I'm saying? If you doing this inspired one person, that right there is enough. Yeah. You don't even realize how many hearts you're probably going to touch. So I think you're doing a great thing, and don't give up on it.
No, and it is. It's my own self-doubts. It's things that I deal with, and kind of just wondering if it's different in my life, in my whole everything I've worked for, a career, my job, kind of what I used to do as a corporate world. Everything's different now. So it's just that self-doubt, that limiting beliefs, trying to make sure, I'm doing what's right. And then there's a different side of it thing too, kind of gone through the spiritual awakening. I sometimes feel like I've tapped into a different level of understanding energy and feeling people's energy and their emotions. And so there's a time that I feel like I absorb more people's negative thoughts and their energy, and it's like my job is what I've learned how to do, is to kind of transmute that energy and let it go back into the universe as just pure love. And so there's a different sense of a calling, if you will, a job that kind of is more of a God calling versus a man-made job. It's a bigger picture. It's kind of a weird thought. So, but
yeah, and it's. You may not understand it now, but you will. They say God don't put anything on us that we, He don't put anything on us that we can't handle. So, I think, like I said, you have to, what was it? Somebody said one day, how did they say this? And I thought it was a wonderful way. How did they put it? They said, I wish I could come up with. It was perfect how it was said. It would be perfect for you. If I come up with it, I will message you. But it was something like, you got to go through the storm, or basically it's like getting to the rainbow. There's always a storm or something, there's rain that, and at the end there's a rainbow, and I really don't, any story worth telling or a story worth having, if it's easy, it's not a story worth telling. You know what I'm saying? All your best stories have trial and tribulation before it gets to the good part. And, those trials, will get you to where to the good place. And I think that's where I'm at now. And on my journey, I went through hell. I mean, I went through a horrible time, and a lot of it was my own fault. Looking back, I could have prevented a lot of it, but I wouldn't be where I am today. So I'm very, grateful for all of it. Even my ex-husband, at one time I would have put him on a bulletin board in town if I could have for, him and my best friend. I was calling him everything but a couple on Facebook and everything else. I mean, I wasn't the best. I mean, I blasted them all over town, ruining reputation because, I was so betrayed. I mean, my best friend and my husband of 15 years was horrible. And, but looking back, I mean, now, I was hurt, but I didn't have to act like that. I've definitely made my share of mistakes. I mean, being in this small town, me doing that, it probably had some effects on my children who were teenagers, and people on Facebook were seeing the way I was acting. If you go back on my TikTok long enough, you would see, videos that I made, about during my divorce and stuff. And although my intentions were good, I still was running two people through the mud that had children too, that, we're in a small town. They were embarrassed. Looking back, I don't know why I did the things I did, I guess I was so hurt, but it's still not an excuse. So,
They always tell us, right? Hindsight's 20/20. We always
it is. I'm gonna tell you, it is. And me and my ex-husband, he's not the best version of himself. He could be a better father and stuff, but I'm definitely humbled. My fiance, that's one thing that we do argue about. He's like, why don't you go after him for child support? And I'm like, look, because he's not going to do right. He lives with his mom. He's not going to do right. My daughter's 16, and she sees her dad. And we're in such a small area. What are they going to do? Put him in jail? He's still not going to pay it. That's not going to benefit us none. So my daughter's seeing him for a couple hours a week at her grandmother's, I'm fine with. And, so I try to be good to my ex-husband, even though, I was very bitter for a long time, but I try now. Like I said, I've definitely humbled, and, I hope that he just tries to do better for himself. And, there was a time where you couldn't even put us in the same room without wanting to kill each other. So, I mean, time is everything. I say that time is everything. You'll look back and you're like, man, I was feeling that way, or I took that leap of faith, 6 months ago, and wow, look where I'm at now. So I think you're going to do great things.
No, I appreciate you. And it's good. And to be honest with you, I started this morning, I woke up with a big, overwhelming sense of anxiety, this kind of doom and gloom feeling, and the world's falling apart. And then I've just kind of pushed myself through today. I went outside, meditated, sat in the sun for a minute, and then a phone call with you. And I'm literally sitting here an hour later smiling. You've shifted my perception. You've helped me kind of see the light of a better day, and I appreciate you. It definitely...
Hey, well, I appreciate you. I'm so glad I called you back because I was like, I think that's him, but like I said, I was traveling between properties, and I meant to message you earlier and tell you I don't know if I was going to be able to make it, so it actually worked out perfect.
It did.
And it was a pleasure talking to you, and you got my contact information, and if you're ever in Northwest Tennessee, hit me up, and you and your wife, and we'll go out to eat or go to Nashville or something. But I have faith in you that you're going to do some great things, and you just don't even know it yet. You're probably stepping into something that this is what it's going to be about.
Yep.
So you'll do great things.
I appreciate you. Thank you so much. And I do. You've shifted my day, and you've made it so much better. So I appreciate you. And I hope you have an amazing day.
It was a pleasure talking to you. You did the same, honey.
For sure. I'll talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye. Well, thank you again for sharing this space with us and going through the episode here with Erica. And like I said in the beginning, I hope she helped shift your energy too. She definitely has a very bubbly and happy personality, and I absolutely enjoyed have that conversation with her. And as a reminder, we do have a couple things that are there for everybody. The support group on Facebook, The Awakened Stranger is the name of that group there on Facebook. And that's just a space where we can all get together, have more in-depth conversations, kind of question and answers, support, being there for each other, and just a little bit more intimate environment than just some podcast calls or the TikTok posts. So find yourself there if you'd like to have a good discussion or just be around people. And then we have the links to your own episode. If you want to create a time slot, I have got the link to my Google Calendar on the TikTok bio page. And I've also added that to the Instagram page. So on TikTok, it's at Cody Rampton. And then on Instagram, it's at The Awakened Stranger. And you can find me there on both places. But both of those have links to the Google Calendar. You can set up a time slot, have a phone call, share your experiences, maybe some of your spiritual awakenings, things that have happened for you in your life. If you like to just call in and have a good conversation and give advice or get advice, that would be an amazing time too. So hope you're all having a great day. Hope you have an amazing week. And I love you so much. And thank you again for the support and being a part of this. We'll talk to you soon.